Hey folks, Lindsey Huddleston with another SPS mental health moment. Just want to let you guys know I have the great coach George Ward in the building. He's shaking his head no, but I'm shaking my head yes. Full of excitement, energy, knowledge, and wisdom. Going to sit down with us during this COVID-19 to talk about what we can be doing to stay on track. Also preparing for what's next. Coach, how you doing?
Doing well. Family's doing well. How about yours? That's the main thing.
Yeah, family's doing well too. I appreciate that. Unprecedented times, not just for what we're going through, but I kind of want to kind of go back. And I'm not trying to pull up any old wounds, but you were right in the thick of it, man. You guys at King was getting ready for a big game. You were knocking on the door of the district championship, right?
Absolutely. We had an opportunity. We would have had an opportunity to play Hamtramck and DJ and those guys. We were really looking forward to it. It's kind of crazy because as much as we miss it and look forward to that opportunity, I just think everything that has taken place kind of supersedes that. And sometimes I forget, like, wow, we really had an opportunity to make another good run. But, hopefully we'll get another opportunity next season and we'll see where we go.
Yeah, I've been talking to all the coaches, and it's really interesting. Short of me getting with Coach Brooks, which I'm sure I'll do, I've kind of had a Final Four almost. I've had you, Coach Barrett at UPrep, of course, DJ, and it's almost like those are the teams that were kind of getting ready to kind of square off. But what life lesson, if any, could these young people take from having their season kind of end as abruptly as it did?
First and foremost, nothing is guaranteed. Life can end. Life can end just as your basketball season has ended. And procrastination is nothing that's good. So is anything that you wanted to do during the season and you didn't, and you were waiting and say, oh man, I can't wait to the big game in the regionals or anything like that, you can translate that to life and say, you know what, there is no time to waste because this thing can be taken from me at any time. And I think not only just for our young people, but for our adults as well. They got an opportunity to see, hey, you know what, all right, I'll take care of it next week. I'll do this next week.
Right.
I'll do this next month. But I think the life lesson is everything, literally everything can be taken from you at one time. So I think we'll appreciate things more. Our young people seem to be doing that right now after the shock of what went on. I think now they're starting to get to the point where it's like, you know what, let me handle business right now to make sure that I put myself in a great situation.
You're absolutely right, because it seems that basically if we think back to our high school days, for the most part, everything is set up, no road bumps, no speed bumps for the most part. But then this comes and it's real. So what do you say to the guys who may have been trending on being better, buying into what you need them to do and getting better, and then those who may kind of leave things where they were and not keep progressing when this all is over and they may be in a hole?
If you're not where there's no progress, there's regress. That's what we always say. And if you're not getting better, you're wasting time. I think as unprecedented as this is, and this comes out as negative. Right now, everything that's going on, we look at it as a negative. But for me, I've always been a guy that believed, let's take something positive out of everything that's occurred. Let's take something positive out of it. So I think for our young people, what I've been trying to stress to them, with my assistant coaches, and they've been very, very hands-on with our training during this off time, get better, keep working. You should be better. We should see something tangible that's better in you when this is over. Whether it's over in a month, whether it's over within 6 months, whether it's over within a year, we should see something. You should see something. Your parents should see something that is better tangibly than what it was before this thing began.
We should clearly be able to see it once we clear out and get back to it.
Indeed.
Tell me, as a fierce competitor, a true competitor indeed, and lover of the game, how do you not let being on the cusp of playing for a championship not just stay with you? Is it something you think about every day? What could have happened? How was that going to work out? How do you deal with that?
Well, the easiest way for me to deal with it is recognize when you look around you and see what's really important. I think for us, yes, we had an opportunity to play for a district championship, but as I always say, if you look at us and Hamtramck, Frederick Douglass, UPrep, congrats to Brandon on the birth of his new child.
Yeah.
What a wonderful chance that is to be a father. But I think for us, if you take all our uniforms off, if we say we just put on some shorts and come up the stairs in the gym, we all look the same. If you didn't know the players, everybody looks like they could be on the same team. So I think for us, this is about survival. This is about lessons. Yeah, we think about it, say, man, you look down the road and say, man, I had an opportunity to maybe get somewhere. But in the big scheme of things, when you can see, I know at least 35 to 40 people that I probably could reach out to on the telephone that March 13th, I think it was the day the district championship would have been. From that day to now, I know at least 35 people, 40 people that I could have touched or called that are no longer with us.
Wow.
So now,
You said, you know what? When you said 35 or 40, I thought you were going to talk about coaches you can call to help the kids transition,
no,
graduates. You say
no.
people who are no longer with us?
People that are no longer with us. People that I can say 25 of them were pretty good, solid friends. People that I grew up with the whole nine. So when you think about it like that and you recognize that our sleep patterns are off, when you realize that at any given time, if your bride coughs a couple times, if you cough a couple times, reality starts to set in. So, yep, we were looking at a Friday that Lynn was going to be unprecedented in our state. A Friday that would have matched some of the best teams across the state because of the seeding. You had Rouge Cass, you had, Douglas playing somebody, you had us and Hamtramck, you had Ann Arbor Huron against Ypsi Lincoln. You're talking about unprecedented games at one time where everybody couldn't go to see. You couldn't go to the 5 o'clock game and speed over to the 7 o'clock game. You would have had to look at Twitter and realize that this was going to be a historical day for district championship in our history. But when you look at it and think about the families that have been affected, and oftentimes my wife and I just celebrated an anniversary, but on that day, it was almost melancholy. When I got into a celebratory mode, I started to think like, wow, here I am celebrating, and my wife was celebrating, sitting in our yard having a strong glass of water, and I'm thinking like, man, there are some families that are suffering right now. There are some families that have loved ones in the hospital that they can't touch, that they can't hug. So, when you think about it in that regard, you say, you know what? Yeah, the season was here. I look at it like, you know what? The season could have ended in December.
Yeah.
So let's look at everything. As I always tell my players.
That's a good point.
Let's look at everything.
That's the time when you're like getting ready for the second part of the season to really open up and start.
Think of this thing had to hit us in November, Lynn. You look at all the great players, all the young, great talent that would not have been able to put their talents, their discipline, their structure, their hard work on display. So, yeah, it ended in March. Some of the team's season, was already over. So I think for us, it was a blessing to be able to be in that position. But now I think as young men, this gives us an opportunity to kind of set forth and put our best foot forward as far as leadership in our households. Everything that we've learned in practice, everything that we watched our mothers and our fathers strive and struggle to do a little bit, this gives us an opportunity to be a bigger part of our households. I think that's more important than anything because hopefully you're going to be a man longer than you are a basketball player.
You're right. This is a little forecasting right now, and I'm using you as one of the great basketball minds who always has a broader perspective on the topic and whatnot. And I say it not being patronizing. I mean, it's true. So this thing about the future, do you see a possibility maybe in fan-less sports? And if so, what does that look like? Is that potentially something that may happen? I know it's all speculation, but, when do we get this public health integrity back where people can feel comfortable being side by side in the gym, at the game? Or is that a particular option, not just for the NBA, but for prep sports too?
That is an excellent question, Lynn. You are always doing your homework, my man. I believe what's going to occur now is the immediate future will, if not fanless, there will be less fans.
Okay.
Whether it's going to come into a law, I'm sure it's going to be some rules which says, maybe if your seating capacity is 1,200, like for King, I think our seating capacity is 1,300. I think it's going to be a situation where it's down to 200 or something like that, maybe even 100.
Yeah.
And again, we have to think safety and health first. I just hope that's an option. I hope we're not looking at a situation where come December, January, these young people are still without a season and we didn't have football or something like that. So we're keeping our fingers crossed, but there is going to be definitely some change. And from a fan perspective, there's going to be some people who are saying, you know what, I'll catch it on TV. And I think this gives our fans an opportunity and our young people an opportunity to get more coverage via whether it's television, streaming, whatever the case may be. You know, necessity is the mother of invention. And I think now there's a great need to do something from a telecommunication standpoint. And I think that's something that's going to transpire in the immediate future.
Yeah. As you say that, it makes me think too, and maybe this will be a thought you'll get later. What do you think we won't ever see again?
Wow. You know, wow, Lynn.
I'll put it to you. You can handle it. You can handle it.
Well, yeah, I can handle it. And you know, it's funny because, again, you know, I was an only child. So I thought all the time. And I thought about that. I bounced it off my wife. And, I don't know what we may never see again because I think at some point, this is still America. And, you know, there's a lot of money circulating around this country. So I think at some point, there will be some sort of normalcy. I think the fans will come back. I don't think we'll see the NCAA Final Four with 70,000 fans anytime soon.
Right.
But I think at some point the normalcy will kick in. But I think everyone and their comfortability is going to take a minute. But I do know this. Something as simple as sharing a towel. When you come off the floor, you know, it used to be a time, this is what's crazy, and you remember this. I remember when you were playing, when you came off the floor, if you had a real program, sometimes you would take your towel and you would give it to your teammate to let him know. I mean, you would call his name, hey, Lynn, I got you. Coach said, I got you.
That was part of the transition.
That was part of the transition. You give him a towel. And without even thinking, you would, you'd wipe your brow.
Well, even drinking.
Drinking.
After
And that has kind of changed a little bit lately. But again, people share Gatorades. You know, they do the waterfall.
Right.
My son will say, hey, man, let me waterfall that, Dad. And,
right.
So I think those things will change. But I think I look at some of the programs around the city and around the state. A lot of us have assigned water bottles. So that kind of stuff will start to change anyway. But now I think you'll see a bigger change in the conduct and contact amongst teammates.
Well, with that excellent segue, sports, but particularly the African-American community are together. When I see you, I'm going to dap you up, I'm going to give you love.
No question. No question.
I mean, that casual embrace, how we acknowledge, I mean, the new thing is going to be what? It's going to be a head nod. It's going to be, I feel you, brothers, at a distance, but that closeness, you think is going to be just temporarily suspended for a while?
I think it's temporary. I think, and I think my wife may not allow me to eat dinner here tonight, but I think I've hugged one of my guys. I mean, a quick one, a different type. It wasn't the dap and a boom, but I think that's going to be temporary. I think at some point, again, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to our normalcy. But right now, it's been a fist bump. And I just fist bumped my son the other day. And it was kind of less of a fist. It may have been the side of my hand and forearm a little bit.
Because the fist bump ain't even that committal. You ain't even that committal with that.
Yeah, we ain't even quite there yet. And I cut the cord on him. So to do that with him, it let you know we still have some apprehensions, anxieties that we've got to get over. But I think at some point, maybe that'll come back to our reality. I hope so.
Yeah. Another question, I know it's not necessarily fair because we don't know, but talk about the transition from athletes from prep sports to college sports and the possibility of, how does recruitment look? I mean, if I was getting a look, is that still there? I mean, and again, I know because of the NCAA and where they are, there may not be any concrete things, but I'm just saying if we participate, what do you think?
Well, I think you did a masterful job when we had our interview. Over the Christmas time or Martin Luther King time, I think that was. Yep. And I think some of the things that I said will come to fruition, at least temporarily.
Can you recap some of that for our viewers who didn't catch it?
you know, we talked about the live periods for AAU. You know, you're talking about that April through July, pretty much period. Now it's been eliminated. So now you got to get back to these high schools again.
Wow.
And
Wow.
what occurred was some of our college coaches, they got they allowed some of the prognosticators to kind of GPS them, so to speak, as to where to go, as to who to see. You know, and
Oh,
so
so they got a few people they talk to and say, "Tell me who," and
hey,
they were the
tell me
gatekeeper.
who. Tell me who. So you got a kid over here that's only averaging, say he's averaging 16 in the system. He's not averaging 25, or he didn't get off during the AAU time. So you don't really realize that this kid could be in a Reggie Lewis type situation. You don't know because nobody has acknowledged that. So now what happens is you're going to have to do more of your homework as opposed to cheating a little bit. You can't look over the girl who you know studied all night and on top of her game. You have to do this for yourself. And I think that's going to add to some of the integrity of the recruitment, and it's going to add to the connection between the college coaches and the high school coaches as well. So I think
Which that kind of went away, but now it's kind of working its way back. They almost just overlooked the high school coaches.
Hey man, anytime you got an AAU coach getting a college job and you can't think of any true game planning that he had to do at the high school level, you say, man, how was he able to make that jump? But I also understand when it gets to that point, it's about getting players, so on and so forth. And some of the guys that have done it from our area were excellent coaches. But I look across the country and you say, man, how did my man get that job? But you already recognize that it wasn't necessarily for coaching. So now it goes back to the value. It brings back the value of the high school coach. And I think at least temporarily, that'll be good. And it at least brings the college coaches back to the high school gym.
Yeah, no doubt. And they'll be forced to reestablish those relationships.
Indeed.
And go from there. You know, we were talking earlier about making that connection between the two. And you talked about, unfortunately, the loss of life everybody's experienced. But it seems short of the tragedy of the loss of life, there's been like a cleansing. Everything is being cleansed. Everything is kind of getting back to the roots, you know, indirectly in some way or form. Is that fair to say?
Man, it's not fair to say. It's excellent to say. And again, taking back some of the positives where, you know, the mothers were showing the daughters how to do their hair, how to cook. The fathers outside with their sons, mowing the lawn, teaching them how to edge the grass, doing the shrubs, teaching them how to paint, whatever the case may be. And more importantly, the child gets to see family love and family unity. Mm-hmm. And we grew up at a time where, you know what, you know, people were working, moms was working, but we sat down and ate together more than what we do now. And I think for us, I can tell anybody, I'm kind of a family guy. I'll get out every now and again, but when I come home from practice and even if it's 8:30, my wife will have waited for me to eat a little bit. The children, we sit down, we say, hey man, all right, come on, everybody get downstairs. And I don't do that so I can tell people I do it. I do that because I want to hear what went on during the course of the day. I want to know how you're feeling. I want you to listen to my sermon that day. Whether you're tired of it or not, I want you to listen to my sermon and hear what mom has to say about everything that's going on. So I think we can get back to that, and we have. You look at some of the meals that a lot of people are posting on Facebook. It's kind of crazy for me because I like to go out to eat really to take some of the load off my spouse. But I don't have to go out to eat. I love sitting down to my dining room table and sitting down with my family with a meal that was prepared by a hand that I know. So I think we can get back to that. I think the grocery shopping, educating children how to spend their money wisely. I think there's more people that have been able to save money now than what they've ever had before.
And then the question is, would you really want to go back to that excess spending once, you know, everything is lifted after you've kind of maintained like this?
Well, as the war of the states, as we call it, we never really have anyway. So I think that's good. But I would love to see more of our families stick with this. And I think if it's due to the anxiety of I don't know what they touching, I think that's a great thing. I think it should stay like this. And again, it creates that family bond that we have gotten away from, that is totally needed. And this pandemic, as terrible as it has been, and as much as it has affected us, may end up being something that could have saved our community, because to a certain degree, and people like to think, man, you're going deep with that. To a certain degree, we were headed to some form of genocide to a certain degree. So I think this could help save us.
Come on, I don't think you're talking too heavy. You speak in fact, and I think in light of the terrible loss of life, which allows us to kind of limit how we can talk. Short of that, everything else you're saying is absolutely right. They talk about how the planet is healing, how the ozone layer is repairing itself.
Fog, smog,
yeah.
Everything.
I had a wise man say, if you look at it, every 10 years there's a major incident, whether it's unfortunately 9/11, 2008 stock crash, you know, all these things that happen every 10 years or so, that kind of, it's almost a purge.
It's almost a purge. And I think, again, when we look up and recognize what has occurred, but when the smoke clears, so to speak, we can look up and say, yeah, you know what? This will be good. We're going to miss a lot of our people, but for our families that were able to survive amidst the sadness and everything that has occurred, I think once this is over with, I think we can look back and say, man, you know what? I really enjoyed spending time with my family. I enjoyed spending more time with my children, and we will be better off because of it.
Excellent. As we get ready to wrap up, you know, our thing always have to be in parts 1, 2, and 3 to keep it going. What can you say to your players that are listening, to other coaches in the coaches community, people who just respect you as a pillar of the community? What words can you say that can be inspiration along with what you said already to kind of finalize this time we have right now?
Well, I think, you know, when we talk about mental health, Lindsay, this was unbelievable, just a topic. I thought about the topic this morning. When you talk about mental health, one of the things that's lost when we speak of mental health is mental strength. We have raised a generation of young people who are extremely talented, but I don't know, as a matter of fact, I do know they are not as mentally strong as they need to be. I think sometimes the water needs to get choppy for them to learn how to sail better. I think they need to have to run in from the rain sometime, as opposed to me putting up the umbrella to secure them from the rain. I think there is an opportunity, and I tell young people all the time, this is an opportunity for you to become invested in the overall household, not just yourself. You know, you're used to mom doing everything, and our mothers are the cornerstones of our families, and always have been. You look at your mom, your auntie, your grandmothers, they are everything. But we take for granted that, oh yeah, mom got it. Cook, she's gonna clean while she cooking. She's gonna take care of it. She's gonna make sure she's gonna go to the grocery store. She's gonna buy the groceries, bring them back, cook them, wash the dishes, and go to bed and make sure everybody is straight after that. When I get sick, she got us. I think when you have investment, and I'm talking about an investment of labor and love, you are more vested in what's going on inside the home itself. And I think that's something that we need to do for our young people, because they're going to be parents pretty soon. Some of them are parents now. They're going to be leaders, and we've got to show them how to lead. And the climb to leadership is never, ever easy. It's not supposed to be, because you want to appreciate the ability to lead. So I think now this should be training for our young people, training on the job, to see and to do what it is they're going to encounter later on in their lives, with the security of having parents there. Because again, you're a family man, Lynn, and yeah, we've got family support, but at the end of the day, everything kind of falls on you.
That's right.
You don't have anybody. You can't go and say, man, mom, this was a rough day. Here, you got to take care of everything. No, you got to figure it out.
That's right.
So our young people have to understand what hard work is, and when they really understand what hard work and sacrifice is, we will have done our job as much as we could to prepare them for what they're going to encounter.
Wow. Outstanding, man. I can't say enough how much I appreciate you being available and sharing. And I look forward to us being able to catch up on the other side to reflect and then go back and see how prophetic some of the things you may have said as far as what will happen, what will not happen, and keep it going. But I appreciate our relationship and appreciate you sharing. And thanks for all that you do.
And I appreciate you. I think what we need to do now is I don't think there's any young brothers or sisters who say, man, I can't wait to be somebody that interviews. I can't wait to be a reporter. But when you really look at it, you have stayed involved in the community, in athletics that you've always loved, and bring your knowledge in that and kind of fuse them together and create something special. And you're on the come up big time, man. I look at guys like you and Brandon Hunter as gentlemen that our young people can look at as true role models and people that they can emulate. So we appreciate you.
Shout out to B. Hunter too.
Yeah, we appreciate you, man.
All right, appreciate it. King High School representing Coach George Ward, Crusaders for Life, man. We'll talk to you next time, okay?
Ain't no question. Stay up.
You too. Peace.
All right.